Week 10 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. The first guy, Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. So Jose Ramirez, over the last few seasons, he's been a top 5 fantasy baseball player, but on the season this year, a little bit struggle for sure. And the power's way down. Season 6 home runs, 31 RBIs, 31 runs scored, 5 stolen bases, a 260 average, and a 329 on base. So right now, this Guardian team, the worst team in the league in terms of hitting home runs this season, and a lot of guys underperforming on this roster as well. But the thing here that's a plus for me with Jose Ramirez, and I think he'll break out of it. He's only struck out 22 times on the season. He has Ramirez in 227 at-bats. He's obviously been a great hitter, like I mentioned, over the last few seasons in fantasy baseball. And second half, he really could break out, and we've seen it throughout his career. In the second half, him go off. So the last couple weeks, he's really done nothing. No home runs, 6 RBIs, 6 runs scored, a 222 average, and a 236 on base here for Jose Ramirez. So right now, while his numbers aren't up to par at all, which he's been doing over the last few years here, it's a perfect time to buy him low this week. June 2nd at the Twins 0 for 4, June 3rd at the Twins 0 for 5, June 4th at the Twins 0 for 3 a run, June 6th versus the Red Sox 1 for 5, and June 7th versus the Red Sox 1 for 4 with a run and a rib. So right now, Jose Ramirez, like I said, he's not doing much, and this is a perfect time. I think a decent starting pitcher and a bat will get the job done, because Ramirez, he obviously was a top 5 pick and a first pick overall in some fantasy drafts this season. So right now, while the numbers are way down in the first couple months of the year, he's a nice buy low candidate this week. Next guy, Ryan Mountcastle of the Baltimore Orioles. So Mountcastle, he's a typical power hitter where he's going to strike out a lot, but the pop's going to be there, and the low batting average on the year, 11 home runs, 39 RBIs, 34 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 231 average, and a 268 on base. In the last couple weeks here, we haven't seen much out of him. A homer, 5 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. In the last month, really nothing. 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 11 runs scored, and a 198 average, and a 262 on base. So the first month of the season, he got off to a great start with 8 home runs and 26 RBIs. But ever since then, we haven't seen much from Mountcastle. And he's in a bad slump right now, no doubt about it. And he's even sat out a few games here and there. So May 31st versus the Guardians 0 for 4. June 2nd sat out. June 3rd at the Giants 1 for 3. June 4th at the Giants 1 for 4, run and a rib. June 6th at the Brewers 0 for 4. And June 7th at the Brewers, and that one sat out as well. So right now, Mountcastle, I think they're giving him a few days off here and there to get it right for Mountcastle. Then he could get back to the lineup and get things going once again. So right now, while he's struggling and hasn't done anything pretty much in the last month of the season, it's a perfect time to buy him low. And you can give one of your low-rated starting pitchers on your roster, I believe, in a deal for Mountcastle. And he could get it done, because he definitely has legit power, Mountcastle. We've seen it over the last few years. The last season, 22 home runs. And he's on pace still for a decent home run rate, about 25 to 30 on the seasons. If you need some pop and you don't got to pay a lot to get it, Mountcastle's a good option to buy this week. And like I said, you can get him cheap. The next hit is Anthony Rizzo of the New York Yankees. So another power hitter that's going to have peaks and valleys and inconsistencies is Rizzo. But on the season, the numbers overall are pretty solid. 11 home runs, 32 RBIs, 32 runs scored, 289 average, and a 363 on base. So right now, that batting average is real high for Anthony Rizzo at the 289 on the season. But the last 2 weeks, he's virtually done nothing. No home runs, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, a 176 average, and a 222 on base. So obviously, those are bad numbers for Anthony Rizzo over the last couple weeks. We know Aaron Judge, he's out with the toe injury, and that's more protection in the lineup and better pitches that Rizzo might be missing out on now that Judge is out. But I don't think Judge will be out long, only a couple weeks at most, hopefully. And right now, Rizzo, he could turn things around, because he's a streak hitter, and we've seen it in his career where there's months, yes, he'll hit 2-3 home runs, and there's months he can hit 10 home runs. And it definitely could come up for him sooner than later, especially with that short porch stadium where the weather's getting nicer and the ball's going to start carrying even more. June 2nd at the Dodgers 0 for 4. June 3rd at the Dodgers 1 for 4 run. June 4th at the Dodgers 0 for 3 a run. And June 6th versus the White Sox 0 for 3. So the Yankees got a doubleheader here today. And it wouldn't be surprising to me in this one if Rizzo could get things going versus this White Sox team. So right now, while Rizzo hasn't done much in the last 2 weeks, but overall, the numbers have been good on the season. He's definitely a hitter I would go out there and get, because in these summer months is where he really heats up and he could help your fantasy team in a big way. It is Vlad Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays. So Vlad Guerrero, we know last season was a monster year, 32 and 97, but so far this year, the RBIs are still solid. The power not as great, 9 home runs. On the year, 9 homers, 38 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, 30 runs scored, a 284 average, and a 352 on base. And over the last few weeks here, only a home run, 5 RBIs, a stolen base, a 231 average, and a 298 on base. So Vlad Guerrero, we know the potential. He's a guy that can hit 40, 45 home runs max out at. But right now, he's just not hitting a lot of home runs. And it's very surprising in a stacked lineup like this Blue Jay team, where he's only got 9 home runs on the season and 2 home runs since the middle of May for Vlad Guerrero. So the last few games here for him: June 1st versus the Brewers, 1 for 4. June 2nd at the Mets, 1 for 3. June 3rd at the Mets, 1 for 4. A ribbon and stolen base. June 4th at the Mets, 2 for 4. A homer, an RBI, 2 runs scored. June 5th versus the Astros, 1 for 4, an RBI. June 6th versus the Astros, 0 for 3 with a run. And June 7th versus the Astros, 1 for 4. So right now the power hasn't really come up. Even the RBIs a little bit. Only 5 in the last 2 weeks here for Vlad Guerrero. But another player who was a first-round pick in fantasy leagues. Obviously, like Jose Ramirez, but the numbers just haven't been there right now for Vlad Guerrero. But he could turn things around quickly as Guerrero. We know he's got pure power. And we know he's a free swinger as well, like his father was, is Guerrero. But he still draws his walks when he needs to. And he just got to be a little more patient, I think, and let the game come to him right now. But he definitely could break out and put up huge numbers quickly, is Vlad Guerrero. So right now, while the power hasn't been there like it has over the last few years, and the RBI is a little down in the batting average the last month here, I think Vlad Guerrero you could get on a discount, and I think he could help fantasy owners in a big way. And a decent starting pitcher and bat probably could get the job done, or a 1-for-1 deal, him for a starting pitcher. So right now, while he's slumping a little bit, is Vlad Guerrero, this is a perfect time to buy him low this week. In the 5th and final hitter I look to buy and trade for is Jarred Kelenic, Seattle Mariners. So Kelenic, one of the former top prospects many seasons ago, and he was in that Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano deal with the New York Mets. On the season, 10 home runs, 27 RBIs, 7 stolen bases, 27 runs scored, a 264 average, and a 328 on base. So Kelenic, yes, his strikeout rate's ridiculous on the season, 76 strikeouts on the year and 212 at bats. So obviously he's going to be one of the highest strikeout guys in the league, but he's got power and he's got stolen base potential as well. And so far this season, for the most part, he's looked good, but the last couple weeks and even month, the numbers have definitely dropped off for Kelenic. No home runs in the last 2 weeks, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored, a stolen base, a 128 average, and a 244 on base. In the last month, only 3 homers, 11 batted in, 12 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 223 average, and a 291 on base. So the good thing with Kelenic, at least he's drawing some walks. He's seeing more pitches in the count, but he's not going to be a great batting average hitter, but definitely a 30 home run potential and 20 stolen base potential guy I think Kelenic could be. And right now, he's in a major slump. June 2nd at Texas, 0 for 2. June 3rd at the Rangers, 1 for 3 with an RBI. June 4th at the Rangers, 0 for 4. June 6th at the Padres, 0 for 4. And June 7th at the Padres in a blowout loss, 2 for 4 in that one. So maybe that's a good sign, going 2 for 4 in that game. But I think Kelnic's a good talent, and it's just taken him so many years to get adjusted to the major leagues. But obviously this season so far has been his best season in the major leagues for Kelenic. So I think he could turn things around right now. After the last month, he's pretty much done nothing for fantasy owners, and you wouldn't have to give up much to get him on your roster. And right now, he's been dropped this week in 4% of fantasy leagues. If he's on your waiver wire somehow, is Kelenic. You go out there and give him there, because I think the potential, like I said, could finish the year 30 home runs and 20 stolen bases. He could definitely come close to that. So right now, Kelnic's a buy low candidate this week. So that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for here in week 10 of the fantasy baseball season.